Welcome to Relax and Chat. We've got a great show for you today. Today we have Sam, the expert book smuggler. She's a YouTube book reviewer, a booktuber. This is a really fun video. This video is made in cooperation of the management team at the Expert Book Smuggler. Let's relax and chat. This is a nice episode. You're going to enjoy it. Hi, Sam. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Oh, pretty good. Pretty good. Having a nice day. Today, it's weird here in Kentucky. It's not real hot, so the AC's not on, but it's warm enough that I did not want to close the window, close the curtains, set up my lighting. So we're just using natural light from an open window. Don't be surprised if you hear a fire truck or something. Yeah.
Oh, my cat's arguing with me, so my window. Well, my house is really dark, honestly. But I do have like a big window in my room, and my cats are currently staring really intensely at a bird. So if you hear a little eek eek eeks, that's them. They think they're onto something.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm a huge fan of your show. I love it. There may be some in the audience that are not familiar with you yet. So how about if you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. I'm Sam, also known as Expert Book Smuggler, and I typically talk about dark fiction, so mostly horror and thriller, though I do read a lot of romance, and which, as you probably know already, one of my big goals this year is to do a lot more small pub indie author reading. And so it's been a lot of fun this year because it's kind of helped me connect personally with indie authors and kind of learn their side of everything. Because, there's so much that we as readers think that we know, and we find out we don't really know. So that's been really fun. Yeah.
Well, I'm an indie author myself. I wrote that little tiny book. I've gotten some great feedback on it. It was initially just my effort to learn how to publish a book,
A little story.
Yeah, let's see if I can do this. It's one of those. And I want to ask you very quickly before we move on. I love the title of your show, your channel, Expert Book Smuggler. How'd you come up with that? I love it.
So the concept, I used to work in animal welfare. I did a lot of work with behavioral issues and stuff like that, and I was initially expert dog smuggler because I worked so heavily with dogs. And when I was trying to think of what I wanted to title myself, it was really confusing because I was like, I don't even know where to start. I wanted to play off of that, so it'd be pretty seamless, and it mostly came from the fact that when I was really young, I used to break the rules at the library a lot. And so I found out in elementary school that if you would check out the limit of the books and return one, you could then check out the limit again. Something in the system was not flagging correctly. So I would end up with like 30 books in a week, which was good because that was my only thing I did as a kid was read. So that was where that came from, is I just remembered that like as a kid, that was my trick, is I used to just return one book at a time and then go check out a bunch more. And so I book smuggler.
I love it. I'm at least twice your age, but for me, it was a double-day book club. That was a big deal back in the day. And I don't even know if it still exists, but you would buy, it was sort of like the CD thing they used to have. You'd buy a handful of CDs and then you were required to buy some more at full price. Well, the double day was sort of the same thing. You got a couple of books for hardly nothing, then they would send you books each month. And so that's how I initially got like really carried away with loving reading, All right. Well, just to make sure we do well on time, I'd like to move on and ask you a couple of questions. And we'll start real simply. And you said you've been reading since you were a child, so you probably answer this one easy. At what point in your life did you realize that you love to read?
Oh, goodness. I can't even remember when I realized, because my mom, despite the fact that she does not like reading, doesn't like it at all. can't stand it. She really wanted me to be a reader, so she started reading to me out of the womb. And she read to me so much. She loves to tell the story. I actually live in my hometown again, about how she used to take me from table to table at the Dairy Queen she worked at in the 90s. When I claims, we're going to say claims. I'm not going to say that this is factual. She claims that I was reading or starting to read at 3. So by the time 4, she would take me around from table to table at the Dairy Queen and have me read a page from this book of fairy tales that I had. And I have been reading for as long. Oh my God, I think I had more books than toys when I was small.
That's awesome, though. That's fantastic. Sounds like a super mom. Very, very cool. You know?
Yeah, she was really good about that. She always took me, again, she took me to when we lived in Irving, she used to take me specifically to the Irving Library because they would also let me check out a ton of books at one time. So I could go through and like spend 8-9 hours a day just reading over the summer.
Awesome. All right, let's see the second question. If you can remember, what book do you think most inspired you to want to read more, to like, get that glutton feeling that we get that, oh, I want to keep reading?
I can't remember the book, but I remember the concept very vividly to this day. And it was a horror book for kids. Mm-hmm. And I remembered it being about a girl who they moved out into like this cottage, this house near the woods, and it was haunted by another little girl. Mm-hmm. And I remember there being a scene where she ends up falling into a pit and finally seeing the actual ghost of the little girl and discovering happening. And that was what sparked my love of horror, because I just remember thinking that was the coolest, scary. And that was like my first foray into horror and like realizing how fun and different it could be, because before that I was again reading a ton of fairy tales. I had a Greek mythology phase. Very into like Tamora Pierce. I mean, I'm still into Tamora Pierce, let's be real. I have like 3 of her series on my shelf right now. But that was my first, like, where I suddenly realized how many different directions you could go when reading. And that kind of got me out of just reading my fantasy and into a whole different world.
Yeah. It's weird. I love to read, but I think I first got into horror at an extremely young age. But I was watching old black and white Bela Lugosi Dracula movies and Lon Chaney werewolf movies. I can remember watching those, and that just fired me right up. And then I discovered, Star Trek and Twilight Zone. And, so I kind of started out like most kids, at my age, when you were a kid, you were a walking TV guide. You knew every show. I knew exactly. I knew when Gilligan's Island would be on TV. I didn't miss it, All right. But I think influence wise, as a child, I think the first book I can remember reading was V.C. Andrews' Flowers in the Attic. Yeah, I have no idea what genre that is, but it was a cool book.
I call it dark fiction. I always just refer to it as like dark gothic fiction. But yes, my mom's best friend gave me a milk crate full of V.C. Andrews and Sweet Valley High books. Oh. And I read so much V.C. Andrews, and it was probably pretty inappropriate for my age. But it was so wild, like wild.
It was a trip for that time, even, especially then. It'd be a trip today, I think. And I'll share my stuff on Twitter, and I've got the great good fortune ever since I became a writer. I've been so lucky to make what I call writer friends, and they help in so many ways. One of the things they do is, like, if I post something, they'll pick it up and share it with their audience, who then may share it with their audience, and you get a lot of people to see what you're posting. And that's very cool. But they also, the writer friends will, have a conversation with you, especially like if I'm in a point in my book where I may be stuck. And there's a whole bunch of writer friends that will be like, hey, let me take a look, or let me talk it through. Or, for me, the writing community has been so welcoming and so friendly, you know. And then really only recently, not too long ago, I discovered the booktuber. And I freaking love it. My TBR has just gone off the charts because
Oh,
I love hearing,
it's a
you know,
song.
now I am a stickler for the honest ones.
Uh-huh.
I'm a big fan of your show because you're straight up, and I love that.
Yeah.
And there are some that are obviously paid to say whatever it is they're saying, and I just go, you know.
Yeah,
But
I
then,
feel like that across all kinds of, not even books, but like I used to really be into watching YouTube videos for like beauty products so I could know what I wanted to buy.
uh-huh,
But there's just a certain amount. Like I feel like I expect anything that's from paid or sponsored at this point, I feel like I have to take with a grain of salt. I
yeah,
mean, then as somebody who does like, I don't know, I guess you could call it influencer type stuff. I don't do like paid stuff. I've been offered some things, but like I don't ever want to take anything that is like I don't actually want. Like I don't want to be one of those people that is like, "Oh, you want to send me a free mug? Yeah, I'll best mug I've ever used." So I stay picky, and if that means I have to pass on them, I pass on them. But I do take everything with a grain of salt, and I think like media literacy, digital literacy, and all of that's super important for people to help you navigate those things, because there's a lot of people who will just say, "Oh, I loved it," because also too because they don't want to hurt feelings, they don't want to hurt the fans of the book or the author of the book. But to me, it's like, people are potentially spending their hard-earned money
yeah,
on that book, so they kind of really do need to know. Like for me, like I only buy books like 2 or 3 times a year because my budget is very small.
yeah.
So it's like I don't be potentially spending my money on something that's just awful, but everybody was too afraid to say like, hey, it's not that
Yeah. Yeah, I'll usually be drawn to the booktubers, book reviewers, and there's only a few that I really, really like and look at regularly. And yes, your show is one of them for sure, you know. And because I like the honest ones, very much for the same reason you just said. If I'm going to go out and blow $20, I want to blow it on
good.
something I think I'm going to enjoy. And if I
Yeah.
watch your show and you review a book and it sounds really interesting, well, you're being honest. Therefore, what I'm hearing is actually what the book is. And of course,
Yeah.
opinions can vary, but I have a good general idea, right? So when I
Yeah.
blow my $20, I feel like, hey, I'm sure glad I saw that review, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Where if you get one of these marketed reviewers, they're going to tell you whatever their script is. You're going to blow $20 and hate the book because it's nothing like what they describe. So I'm kind of very picky about which shows I like to watch, you know?
Yeah.
And, but I will say the booktuber is awesome, and the expert book smuggler is very, very cool. I love the name. I love it. All right, let's see another question here. What would you say are your 3 favorite books right off the top of your head, and a little bit of why?
Well, one of my all-time favorites that's always been one of my all-time favorites is Into the Drowning Deep by Mira Grant. I don't think that's ever going to get taken out of my top 5.
Mhm.
And I think simply because I'm really well and truly fascinated by the concept of the ocean, because so much of it remains unexplored.
Mhm.
And I think Mira Grant, or Shanann, I don't know, McGuire, does a damn good job at bringing the science into horror without making it science fiction.
Oh.
And there is just something that I so fun. And I know, honestly, I've seen so many people say they hate it, they think it's awful, but it's like I love that the way that she approaches books. It's so specific, and you can really that it's her throughout all of her books. But Into the Drowning Deep just takes the cake, because I mean, killer mermaids. Like I think different concept. I even have like little mermaid skeleton earrings because I have an obsession. Another one of my books, which you already know, is A God in the Shed. I read that, and it was the most fun I think I've ever had with a horror book. I was highlighting so much and like making connections, because I really liked the way that the author tied in how this like ancient evil was first introduced and how it was approached and how it thought, and then what it eventually became was such an interesting exploration. So it has it's almost feels like there's all these little Easter eggs throughout it, and it makes it just so entertaining. I have like 5 different colors highlighted throughout that book. And then I would say that another one that I don't think is ever going to be replaced would be The Girl with All the Gifts. That one's by Emma Carey, and that introduced the concept of fungal horror to me. And it was a very interesting concept because you have these zombies, but the book really explores the concept of how we dehumanize people who don't look or think or act like us, and really take away their agency. And that was just so fascinating because I had never seen that done in a zombie book. You know, usually zombie books they're zombie books, and I love them for being zombie books. I'm a huge zombie fan. But that one really went in a direction I've yet to see again. And the ending of it was both sad and completely uplifting at the same time, which I think is really hard to do. It was just so well done. I will forever love that book.
Oh, off the top of my head, I'd say at least my 2 favorite books in a very long time. I love Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. I don't know if you've actually read the book. It's considerably different than any movie that's ever been made.
Yeah, I've heard. I haven't read it yet. It's on my TBR, though.
I'm planning on doing my very first ever effort at a TBR/tag video. I fully intend to tag the expert book smuggler. So be looking for that. and I'll mention the Frankenstein story because I don't think most people realize how incredibly different that story is from the movies. And then I guess my next favorite one, because I think it's the scariest thing Stephen King ever did, is I love Pet Sematary. Wow.
Oh, me too.
Kicks butt. That is awesome.
My first Stephen King book, actually. I did the audiobook that Michael C. Hall narrated, and it was just, it gives you shivers up your spine.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I love the character Judd.
Yeah,
the old guy across the road. He's so cool. Yeah. All right, I was curious because you do have an awesome channel. I love it. I haven't seen all of your videos, but I've made it a goal to see them all. You know, because it's awesome. You do a great job with that. You really do. And so I've got to ask you, what inspired you? We know you love to read, but what inspired you to get on YouTube and create a booktuber channel and share all that wonderful information with everybody? What inspired you to do that?
Honestly, it was my frustration with TikTok, because I started on TikTok, and I still do it. It's still my primary platform. But I did notice and got a little frustrated that the times that I would actually go into detail and like talk about a book, it never got pushed out to an audience that wanted that content. It never showed it to people who wanted to talk about books and really go in depth. I wanted to find a platform where I could just kind of go for it and really talk more at length about the things that I love. Because it's really hard to, encapsulate everything that you feel about a book in 60 seconds and then 3 minutes on TikTok is always kind of weird because the audience doesn't expect that from you. They're not looking for long form. But there are times where I just kind of want to ramble and talk about all the tiny little nuances of a book, little bits that really, get into your brain.
Yeah.
I had really wanted to talk about Brother by Anya Alborn because I did a review. That was one of my first videos. Yeah. And I really wanted to talk about it because, it was so popular, but I hadn't seen anybody talk about the concept of generational trauma and how the book was influenced by that. And so I felt like it was going to be the platform where I could just kind of go off on my tangents if I wanted to and have those tangents.
Yeah. Of time. One thing I always do on Relax and Chat is make sure that my guest has an opportunity to speak directly to the audience, and you can share anything you like. I don't censor stuff. I'm not into politics and being mean to others. But other than that, pretty much anything you want to talk about, say hello to the audience.
Hi, everybody. I think the big thing I want to just talk about is, as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, I am doing a big focus on indie and small pub this year. And so I do have my second installment, my second episode coming out in 2 weeks. It'll be on a Wednesday, and I'll be featuring different genres this time as well. So we'll be crossing off more than just horror, and we'll be looking at a little bit of romance and things like that. So just if that is your thing, keep an eye out, because I'm really excited about it. It's really fun. I even built a book tracker through Google Sheets that I'm about to launch. And one of the aspects of it is being able to track whether or not you're reading small pub or an indie versus traditional. And so I'm really about that, and kind of encouraging other people to just keep an eye out on the indies and the small pub authors. And it's getting harder and harder to be an indie and small pub author. And I really want to encourage people to read from that, because you will find a lot of really interesting things and different concepts that you might not see in traditional publishing. So that is my big thing, is I keep an eye out for that second episode, because I'm very excited about it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I can't wait to see it. I did see the first one and loved it. And yeah, I look forward to all your videos now. I really do. I mean, I don't think I could love every book ever printed, but boy, I get such good guidance from your videos, and I love that. And I love that you're straight up and honest. You speak your mind. We're kind of kindred spirits in that. I'm well known to speak my mind. What little mind I have, I'll share it. And like I said, though, I'm going to try to do, I've never done it. I've been told that my channel is sort of a cross between booktuber and author-tuber. And I barely know what author-tuber is. But the primary thing on my channel that's kind of my big deal, of course, is Relax and Chat. I wanted to open up a space for indie authors, independent authors, as well as other types. I even have had, small press owners, excellent editors. I've had a variety, and now a booktuber, an expert book smuggler on Relax and Chat. So yeah, anything to do with writing and reading. I love having this platform to do that. And I've made some fantastic writer friends. I hope I can count you among them. It's just a blast. I go on Twitter and I say hi to my friends, and anything that they're doing, I share it. And most of them share my stuff too. We get along real good on that. But even more, like I said, if you like I'm stumped on something, or just want somebody to talk to, writers in general just seem like they're so friendly and nice. Overall. I mean, there are people here and there, like any other group of people. There's some that are not so friendly, but most really are. Have you had that experience? Very friendly people.
Yeah, I thus far as well too, like any author that's wanted to send me their book or anything like that, they've all been really great and understanding, because I set boundaries for it, because I still work full time. I have a kid and all of that, and they've all been really great and understanding and super flexible and easy to work with, and I mean, I have encountered some authors that are very strange on TikTok. Usually not ones that I read, though. Like, that's the thing, is I'll find ones that they're kind of iffy, but I haven't even read their books, so I'm going to casually add them to my do not read list. But for the most part, yeah, I've encountered a ton of really awesome authors, and just people in the book community in general are really, I think a lot of people in the book community too are really good when people are, taking advantage of authors or readers, of pointing out, like, that's not cool. That's not the etiquette. Like, we need each other. Authors need readers and readers need authors. Yeah. That kind of thing is a big point, is we all need each other in the book community.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you completely. And like I said, I'm a writer, longtime reader, YouTuber, and well, I got to be honest. I have discovered that a booktuber is an extremely valuable friend to have, because you have shown some books on your show that probably I would have just walked right by, never would have known anything about that book. I watch your show, and I'm like, before the show was over, I'm on Amazon. Cool. And you know, the only problem I have in that area is that I don't read as quickly because my I've got a little saying I started in one of my early videos. Life happens, and boy, it does.
Yep.
There's always something that comes up, and I don't get a lot of time to read. So, like, my TBR will be for June when I try to do a video for that. It'll involve 2 books that I've already started reading this month, and I'll be very lucky to finish those books and create the videos by the end of June. I'll be very lucky. How you can read 5, 6, 7 or more books in a month is beyond me. I can't do it.
It depends. Oh my God. Like this month, I've only finished 5. Normally I'll finish upwards of 12. January. Oh my gosh. I read so many I read short stories too. So, but like I read like 28 because I read short stories as well. But yeah, I am a speed reader. I have an issue where if I try to read slow, it's like the words jumble up on the page a lot. So like reading fast is my thing. Like if I try to pace myself, my brain is like, but I also, does happen. Like I will go 2 weeks without touching a book, but then just latch on and spend my entire entire weekend reading and like burn through like anywhere from 2 to 4 books in the weekend. Because like weekdays, I'm tired. Like sometimes you're just so tired that like you can't even enjoy the book you're reading. I prefer to read when I'm like relaxed.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I've tried reading a book before I go to sleep, and it doesn't work for me because the last chapter I read is gone because I'm, you know, you're so tired by the time you get there that, you know, so I try to piece together a half an hour here, an hour there, anytime during my day. I do have the luxury of being self-employed, so I make my own hours, but I often have 15, 16-hour work days, and it's hard to make the and most people don't realize, I bet you can relate to this. One episode of Relax and Chat takes about 30 minutes to record. From the time we record it to the time it's live and being shared on, you know, Instagram, Twitter, wherever that it goes, because I spread it all over my platform. But people don't realize I put about an average of 10 hours into each video. It takes 10 hours for editing and graphics and music and all the things that I do, because I try to make Relax and Chat something special. And I don't know if you've ever seen it. But if you haven't seen it, just, you know, pop over my channel and take a look. There's a bunch of episodes. And, but, you know, I do try to make it special. And it takes 10 hours on average to really do it right. Now, I'm curious because you don't just jump on the screen and say, yeah, you'll like this book. I mean, you put some effort into your work.
I have scripts.
Do you really?
Cool. I'll do a script, but I do always kind of slightly go off script just because sometimes there'll be something that pops in my head and I just got to talk about it. But yeah, I do scripts for mine. And honestly, a lot of the editing on my YouTube is really simple because on TikTok, I do my videos are so edited on TikTok because I cool and neat, and so those take up a lot of my time because you got to record the intro, you've got to find a clip that you want to put the book overlays on, then you got to find all the book overlays, then you got to edit everything and make them seamless, put the transition, the text, find the right music. It's like there's a lot that goes into creating content, especially when you really have a vision in your head that you want to achieve.
Yeah, it's not altogether different than writing a story because it's in your head. But boy, it's a different thing to put it on the page. Now, I'm a pantser and I have a ball when I write. I love writing. What I've gone into is it's a difficulty of revisions and editing. A lot of hard work in there, you know, a lot of hard work. And but I love doing it. I really do. And I love the YouTube. I don't make a dime on YouTube. I don't get sponsored or anything. I don't get paid for anything that I say on there. And I kind of like it that way because I'm huge on honesty. I'm really big about that. Both with myself and anybody I'm willing to listen to. If I think they're a liar, I'll walk away, you know? And so everything. I mean, I've only promoted one product on my channel, and it was a reading lamp that doubles as my lighting for most of my videos, you know? And it's super awesome. You can connect it to almost any surface. It's got 3 different colors, 10 different levels, and it's less than $25.
Oh,
So
right.
I promoted that product because, and you get it at Walmart, for God's sake. But I promoted it because, well, it's a great product, especially for the price. And
Yeah.
lighting in videos is very important and hard to get right.
Yep.
I had a show, Relax and Chat, episode 3, and I'm speaking to this really well known, been around for a while, excellent sci-fi writer. Okay, so and I'm speaking with him, and my lighting is getting dimmer, and dimmer, and dimmer. And you know what? My flashlight went out. One whole side of me is completely black, And I told him that,
Aesthetics.
yeah, I told him, I said, it's a good thing I'm a horror writer. I can get away with this lighting, And you mentioned short stories. I love short stories. My little book that I published has got like 3 little short stories in it. It's The Hero, the Fear, and the Date. If you get a chance, check it out. And I wrote those, and I love them. It's fun. It's a whole different thing than writing a novel. In a way, it's easier because the novel has so much that goes into it. But in a way, it's harder because you're trying to put a lot in this little tiny space, And the stories that I use, I had in submissions, and magazines had requirements under 1,000 words, under 3,000 words. And, trying to put a story together in that period of time is a tricky thing. But it is fun. And I love reading short stories because, as I said, my time is so limited, And I recently bought the complete works of Lovecraft, the complete works of Edgar Allan Poe, and a book that was called The Greatest Horror Stories Ever, with 500 short stories in it. I found these on Amazon for hardly nothing, almost free, and I grabbed them up because, when I got the time, I could bounce on any of those and read a short story,
I use an excellent recording platform, but it is limited. I can run out of time. And that happened in this video. We just plain ran out of time. But Sam was so nice about it, and she has agreed to come back for a part 2 video. So be looking for that, because there's a lot more really good stuff to come. Really like speaking with her, and I hope you enjoy the show.